from your grandma?
No.
She wasn't significant to them, so she wouldn't.
They wouldn't know. I mean, I know the story from as a child because my dad or people would tell me that, but yeah, no, like they haven't seen her. They've seen other things.
My daughter saw her grandmother like the day.
Yeah.
Like she knew that something was weird. She's like, it's weird, but why is Nana going up and down my stairs? And I'm like, Nana's in the morgue, right? And we hadn't even told her yet.
Yeah. And we've had
That was a loud one.
We've had like Raya, we were at a funeral, and Raya's my daughter, and she was probably 3 or 4, and she kept pointing to the casket and saying baby. And she goes, why is the baby crying, Mommy? Why is the baby crying? And I'm like, the only baby was Easton, and I was holding him. And I'm like,
right?
Nope, no baby crying right now, babe. Just like, and you know, you're trying to, it's okay, see it, just shh. You know, because we're in a funeral, let's not make a scene here kind of thing. But then as they brought the casket out, she goes, it's okay, Mommy, baby's gone now. So like, it's so hard for me when you guys say questions, because my questions are like, why did Raya see a baby? Like, why are spirits
And that's
look
okay
like
to ask,
babies?
because
Ask
they might
them.
get those EVPs.
Get
They
those
don't
answers.
have to be yes or no. They can be any question, because we still have the spirit box can come up with responses that are
For
not
all
yes
I
or
know,
no.
the box is
The
answering
EVP
whatever
can.
you're saying right now. So
Yeah.
and when you think of those things, throw them out there, write them down, ask them.
Right, because that's like,
I feel like sometimes spirits just like,
doodling and just see what answers come up.
I feel like they just kind of like appear based on what like that age group would be not scared of, right?
Right.
Like, are most people scared of animals? No. Are most people scared of babies and kids? No. So they might seem like that. Like my godson, I brought him up here when he was, do you remember when I brought him up here and we
Yep.
were doing stuff in Ash?
Yep.
There's like this military spirit here that's pretty fond of me.
William.
And, but my godson, I had come up with years before I even brought him up here with me one time. We were just walking through the building, but he stopped and he started bawling in the hallway, and he was so scared. He kept talking about this guy with blood and other stuff going on. And I was like, oh, you're describing William. That's exactly who you're talking about, because when I shut my eyes, that's what I see. And I'm like, you wouldn't know that because you're like 2 or 3 years old. And he did not want to go down that hallway. He was like crying out and carrying him out of the building. We were just walking through it, and there were people there.
He didn't understand.
He didn't understand, yeah.
I got to tell you one thing that really freaked me out, and I know for a fact it freaked Karen out, because later on that night, it's probably one of the only times that Karen's ever reached out to me to ask me anything or tell me anything, because Karen and I just usually just talk whenever we see each other, but she made it a point to get a hold of me and tell me this. It was one of the anniversary investigations, because every year we investigate on the anniversary that Carolyn died. And we always thought, because she was in this building, the Arts and Sciences building over there, that that's where her energy would be the strongest at. So we used to always just kind of go hang out in this room in this building. And they knew what room number that she was in, because there's some records of what
And
room
I
number
found
she
like
was
a
in.
map of all the
So-
building from back then.
So we went back, and we were sitting in this room where we thought that she would have been. And it was just like, okay, well, I mean, she's definitely here, but whatever. So Karen had to make a phone call. And at the time, my daughter was just kind of coming into her gift. She knew she had it. She didn't know anybody else that had it. She was fascinated with people. She was about 8 years old at the time. So she was just, if there was anybody else that could do even a part of what she did, she was just like super drawn to them, and she just like wanted to soak up as much information from them as she could. So for whatever reason, she was super drawn to Karen. Like, she was super attracted to Karen. So Karen went out in the phone call, or to the hall. I don't know if she had to make a phone call or what she was doing out there, but Katie just got up and followed her out there. So Katie was just kind of sitting there being quietly, and Karen was doing whatever she was doing. And then all of a sudden, they both kind of looked up, and Karen said she gasped. And then Katie they both looked down the hall at the same time, and Katie goes, oh my God, did you just see that? And Karen said what? And Katie goes, it wasn't like the whole arm, it was just like half of an arm and a hand. Just like just like grabbing this door over here. And Karen goes, oh, really, you saw that? And Karen's like, good job, yeah, I saw that too. But Karen told me about that, how they both saw the exact same thing at the exact same time. Erin, I shit you not. We went back and realized that they renumbered those buildings. The room number that she was in, she was actually showing them what room that we should have been in because the numbers were different now from the time that they were there. She was showing them where they should have been.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Right.
Well, a lot of time on cases too, when you have a big group, a lot of times when you have experiences, instead of talking about them in the same room, you'll like go outside and be like, you know, say to one person, this is what I saw, and then someone else that was in that room would go out and say, this is what I saw, compare to see right there. Because if you just talk about it in front of yourselves,
Well, 'cause I'm pretty sure
be
I had a picture
not the
with
same thing.
Carolyn in it. I was like taking photos of like the display cases, and I'm 5'5", and Carolyn was 5'8", and it's just like the face though, not the body, but just like the face. But I don't have it anymore. It was really early on. That would have been like 2011 maybe, I think, when I took that, and we were just walking down the halls pre-investigation, and I just take photos, and that one came up, and then I think the digital files, when I went to go transfer, nothing transferred over or whatever. But it was a clear face, short hair.
Yeah.
It's not me. You can see me and what I look like, and I mean like, and it's right next to that room. Yeah, it's right next to that main room. I mean, like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't think anything of it. But I don't know. I feel like this case is just important. I just feel like, for at least in my sense, like if I passed away, I would want people to remember me. I know, like with the family moving and not being here, who's visiting her, who's I mean, not saying that they don't think about her, 'cause I'm sure they do, but you know, I would still, as tragic as that was, and we don't always talk about the tragic stuff, we talked about too, what did you like to do? We get like that.
Who are your friends? What kind of things did you like to do?
You know, just to get her like a whole version, not just this one event.
Yeah.
Because we know how involved she was looking back in high school, all the things that she was doing. Like, she would have had a very successful, tremendous life ahead of her. She really would have.
She would have been like Grey Hope.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like, one, she took a lot more credit hours than other students did during that time frame. Like, very, very hyper-focused, had a job.
Did you tell her about the names that we were getting and how they're all in the same group?
No, I didn't mention
Did she
that.
ever talk about her legs getting cold?
We hear I'm cold a lot. We hear I'm cold, it's cold.
Karen in the
Crippled.
skirt. Yeah, cripple, cold, crawl, help me walk.
Somebody must have known her first. Straight or cold.
She had gravel all up in her knees that they were able to take as evidence, like leaves and gravel. She did crawl.
And when I walked by that area where I felt the tug, it was like she was on the ground and was pulling me down
Yeah. I just feel
to
cold.
reach up. She reached up her
Yeah.
hand.
I get that
Cold from my like,
sensation.
knees down.
Yeah.
I get that sensation quite often. If I'm not getting the goosebumps,
Ask
full
her
body
if that's
chills.
you. I just talk to her. Say, ma'am, my leg feels cold. Carolyn, you doing that to me? Are you, is that you touching me right now?
Yeah.
Ask, Renee, ask the gods.
Get mine out.
Carolyn, is that you doing that? Carolyn, are you guys touching Erin's leg right now, making her feel cold? Well, that was a hard yes. See how they just crossed over and flipped?
She's like funny. She's pretty funny, actually. She's kind
She's
of
got a very
sarcastic.
sharp, witty sense of humor.
She does.
She's very sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a very smart.
She's very clever, is the word.
She is. I feel like you know, like when we get stuff, if it's her or not, just
Carolyn.
based off of the way that it's being said.
Karen, through Renee's rods right now, I want you to tell me right now if there is something else that you wanted Erin to ask you. Is there something else that you want Erin to know from you right now? Yep. I feel like there's something that Erin wants to know from you but is not quite comfortable asking around us. Do you think that that's true? Yep.
I don't know what I would ask. Like I can't even sense the question that would.
And it's entirely possible that if you do have something, you don't even have to say it out loud, you can think it and the rods will tell you to.
Yeah.
Because it's more about your intention that you put into it.
Right, I mean,
I don't get the impression that you're shy,
no, I mean,
more reserved than shy.
cautious.
Uh-huh.
I'm always cautious about, which that's probably very much a Quimby or a fucking trait. Like,
Yeah.
we just
Is that,
cautious.
is that Corinne's maiden name is Quimby? Is that the family? Okay.
Green, yeah.
Is it Corinne or Corinne?
Green.
Corinne, okay.
Well, that's good. You've been pronouncing
Yeah,
it wrong.
yeah.
Nice.
I'm glad, see, that's another thing. If we wouldn't have said that, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, Nick Green, just like very proper, we're not gonna get emotions. From him. So, I mean,
Really?
yeah,
What a hard way to grow up.
yes.
I could just make you stronger though, because then you could just put aside the emotions and.
I don't know that it makes you stronger. I think that it's, I mean, some kids need that kind of love and affection and that kind of emotion. And if you're not getting that from your parent, that can be like damaging sometimes.
Yeah, that's true too. I think, yeah, I mean, but I don't know if that was just, you had such cultural differences back then. too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could have been a time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean.
My grandma was like that, so I get it.
You know, like I have a tattoo that does both women, in my grandma Hope and my grandma Young, and yeah,
You do? Where's it at?
on my arm. So
Interesting.
yeah.
It's like pictures of them or names intertwined or like, what is it?
So like my one
Oh, wow.
my one grandma was loving. She taught me to be loving and compassionate. And my grandma Hope is a ruffled feather because I told her.
Strength and weathering the
I
storm.
told her one time, I said, Grandma, Mom says I'm like you, I ruffle feathers. And she told me, she goes, good, nothing happens sitting down. So,
I like it.
so that's like the two
The yin and the
polar
yang.
opposites of being raised by those two women because, like,
You gotta see both sides.
yeah, like Ray Hope. pissed
And
people
finding the
off.
balance in
Yeah.
between them.
Yeah, Ray Hope pissed people off to get done what she needed to get done.
No
Because you
filter.
don't
This is the way I
put
feel about it, and I don't care if you want.
it.
I don't know, I mean, she played the games, but she was not good at politics. Like, this is what needs to happen, and this is just how it is, and if you don't agree with me, you can get out.
Yeah.
And my grandma Young was much more the one you were gonna hug and have compassion and love from. And so the Quimby side of the family, I didn't know Aunt Serena a lot,
Direct.
but very, very much that side of, like, if you're gonna be a woman, you're going to be the one ruling the roost and all that kind of stuff, where my grandma Young was like, meh, I just wanna love everybody
Yeah.
and hugs and stuff. So, I mean, just very, very different sides of the family. I think the lack of
Like that just
emotion-
said proper.
Uh-huh.
the lack of emotion, I think, has hurt the Putney Quimby side of the family a lot. They missed a lot, but I don't know now. I mean, now I think they're much different than they were because they've evolved with time. And
At the time, do you know if her death bring any of them together closer?
I don't know if it did. I know it was really hard on my grandma Hope. You know, it was really hard on her. And so, like, when I talk about that she's angry, like when you talk about she's buried two sons, she also buried a niece,
Right.
you know, and a niece that she's really close to.
Well, 'cause
Is
they
that
had
angry or
lived-
just
she had
sad? Just
lived
like
with
why?
them.
Or mad at God or what? When you say
She's
angry?
really mad at God right now,
Uh-huh.
from what I get. But see, like, I don't really talk to my grandma anymore because when my dad died, Like the two times that are gonna cause families to get messed up are funerals and weddings.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, when my dad died, it just got really rough.
Just
So-
because it's hard for her to be around you because he's dead and that makes her sad? Or?
Because I became the decision maker.
Oh, and you didn't
so-
handle it the way she wanted it?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I think she blames me for not being able to help him. So, but he
Oh.
wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let
If
me.
he wouldn't accept it, then there's
Yeah,
nothing you
I
can
mean,
do.
you smoke a cigarette and the
Yep.
other one, well, you
Yeah.
put the other one down, and when you think doctors are quacks, you're not really gonna go to the doctor a lot.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah. And you were a nurse and you should have known better.
Yep.
Why didn't you make him do that?
Yep,
When you can't stop people from doing what they want to do.
Right.
yeah.
I can't, he's a big boy, I can't control him.
Right, and like when he was dying, I knew it, like I could see
Uh-huh.
it. But I'm also not allowed to talk about death. So you're not allowed to talk about death when you're Quimby family.
Really?
Yeah, because
no.
I feel like you were saying too, like when we met up in Lincoln, I feel like you were saying like, even after Carolyn's death, like the family just went on, celebrated the twins' birthdays, celebrated Christmas, kind of just shuffled over it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I didn't learn about the story from my grandma, I learned about the story of Carolyn from my mom. So,
Well, who'd your mom hear it from?
I mean,
Your dad?
Probably my dad and the family and stuff like that.
But, I mean, your dad wasn't alive at the time, so...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was?
Not-
Oh.
1955.
Yeah, he would have went alive. He was born in 44.
So I thought Ray Hope lived with them. They all lived together?
She did, like,
I don't know.
so if you look at, I have housing records that
Yeah.
she's listed of her with a child listed. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to go
kids
back
does
and
she have?
find this.
She has,
She had lived
she
with
would,
them
just
in
have my,
Lincoln.
she would just have my dad, and then I don't know when Ron.
Your dad was the oldest?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it's an interesting family because we have my grandma and Hope, and then you have my dad and Andrew, who were her biological children.
Mhm.
Andrew died at birth, and then you have
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. So then you have
How much younger than your dad?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So then you have my dad and Andrew. Polly was adopted, but she was 18 months old. I'm not sure what their age difference is. You know. And then my uncle Ron came into the picture, but he actually was my grandma Hope's somebody else's, one of her siblings' kids.
Oh.
One of her siblings was an alcoholic, and so she raised Ron. So technically, Ron is a cousin off,
Okay.
but was raised as a brother.
Oh, okay.
So, like, all of my grandma's biologic children are dead.
It's weird how I know more about this family than I know about my own family. Because
Yeah,
I'm like
not to
putting
be
this together.
creepy, but that's like what I felt like
Uh-huh.
when I first put together, because I used like Ancestry, but I actually looked at the records, the census records is how I found out that Ray Hope had lived with them.
Okay.
Because she's on the census records at the same address, and it says like her age, but it was weird because it said like, I want to say like
Was it a
servant
duplex?
or something? Well, the house is now a duplex. Dundee came up on the reporter,
Dundee.
and
I
that's
wonder
where
if it was a
the house is. It's
duplex
right
and that's
across the
why-
street, Actually,
Mhm.
it's still there, but they turned it into a duplex
Mhm.
now. It's a really nice house. And when I was looking into this and stuff, I was looking at census records, which is how I came up with Ray Hope's name, was through the
Okay.
census records and whatnot. So that's how I found
I'm
that.
not sure why Ray Hope was so close to Carolyn. Like, I don't know. She won't talk about it, so I have no idea what it is about Carolyn that was so special. I'm assuming it's because Carolyn was probably like her in regards to being very
Outgoing, like
Very
strong,
much, yeah.
smart.
smart, strong,
Leader.
independent, gonna get shit done,
Yeah.
kind of that kind of thing. So I would guess that's why she was, because my dad was not.
Really
No. My dad was, I'm sure he was
soft
probably,
and sensitive. And,
oh God, no. He was an asshole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, he, I mean, I think he was probably somewhere on the spectrum.
Okay.
like my dad, and I'm assuming this is because he was raised by a very strong matriarch. You wanna talk about how things get messed up? He was raised by a strong matriarch, so his opinion of women is women were only good for what they could do on their back.
Oh, so he had mommy issues.
Yeah, misogynist. Like, yeah. So, I mean, to be.
He was never nurtured when he was little, so he didn't know how to.
Yeah, I mean, the man owned a porn store, so.
Really?
Yeah.
See, these are things that are very interesting because it puts things in a different kind of perspective.
Yeah. So, but. Like, and when, like, I watched, when I was a little kid, I lived with my grandma and Hope, and, like, watched my dog get hit by a car, and was crying, and my grandma said, crying's not gonna bring her back.
Right, get it together, move on.
Wow.
Really?
And I was like, 7
I should be able to be sad.
Right, like, I watched my dog get hit by a motorcycle, and so I should be able to be crying. And I remember sitting on the stairs of her house, and she said, crying won't bring her back.
No, but it'll let me get it out and make me feel
like,
better.
when you're talking
I know what
about,
you're saying.
like, when you're talking about strong, that's the strong in a sense of
Block out any emotion.
get stuff
Hold it
done.
all in and don't ever show anybody how
Oh,
you
okay,
feel.
so here's what it is, you guys. This is some real old research. So when I was looking at this, back in that time frame or whatever, so listed on the census was a Georgia Quinby, listed as a maid who was 30 years older than Corinne, and daughter, Ray Hope, 14 years older than Carolyn, who lived in the Nevins home. So those two were listed as living in the home with the family.
How old was Ray Hope?
So that's 14 in that
14
article.
years older than Carolyn.
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry,
Oh, okay.
14 years older than Caroline.
Okay,
So Caroline,
I'm
Caroline was
Yeah.
20, so she would have been 34.
Yeah, so she would probably have my dad by then.
Yeah.
She had my dad in 44.
Because it
so-
also
Okay,
said
yeah.
that, because when I was at Ray Hope, she's born in 1922.
Yeah,
There you go. Lives in Lincoln, Nebraska. The address was on Stockwell Street,
yep,
4410.
4410 Stockwell.
Oh, this is awkward. I even have a phone number, because that's how creepy I was when I was looking this up.
Because I saw
Letter
it.
4882876.
Yep,
Related to Polly, Ray Richard,
Yep.
and Jeffrey are the ones that were listed, who was 28 at the time when I think I did this research. Supposedly, this is from like the phone records, by the way.
from like, what year?
Oh. It said that she would have been 91,
Okay.
Ray Hope would have been 91, and it
7
says
years ago.
Jeffrey's 28, so
Yeah.
maybe like a,
Yeah, so Jeffrey.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my cousin. He's,
So interesting. That's who it said like related to
yeah.
at the time, but the people that lived in the home would have been Sheridan, Carolyn, Noel, Lynn, and then Ray Hope and Georgia. And
Yeah, and Ray Hope's 98.
that's crazy.
So-
I knew I had it somewhere in here.
William